Hello class. In this video I'm going to show a colored pencil like technique. Again, there is an effect in both Photoshop and Illustrator that says colored pencils. I don't think it looks particularly like colored pencils, not that it's not a bad effect, I use it, but if you really want to emulate colored pencils you're going to have to do a series of other things, as you can sort of see what I'll be doing there in the video. Here using the appearance and adding multiple effects together. So here's the sample. I'll show you how to get there. Here's a drawing where I use some of it in, not entirely. It wasn't meant to replicate a colored pencil. Now the thing about colored pencil, there's lots of ways of doing colored pencil in terms of your stroke. So this isn't emulating every single colored pencil stroke that you can do. Again, like anything else, if there's a particular stroke that this doesn't quite cover or it doesn't get you there, you need to use some other effect, let me know. Maybe I can figure it out and post a video about it for the colored pencil or any other effect. But let me get into it here. So I'm going to go to my base drawings. I'm going to sort of assume that, starting from just a square, and I'm going to start by setting my first color. Again, any color can be used. In this case, I'm going to start by turning off the stroke. I'll come back to stroke in the end because you see there is some stroke in those example ones I've given. But for now, for the base colored pencil, we don't need it. And a lot like marker, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go just to the fill, and I'm going to go to effects, and I'm going to apply scribble. Of course, my settings are going to be different than when I did the marker video from before. All right, so again, I've already tested some of these settings out beforehand, but any of these settings are adjustable throughout the entire video to get the needs of your drawing. So could change that to 0.04, 5%, 1.01, and 0.17. So we'll go with that, and we can see we've got something that doesn't look like colored pencils because there's a few more steps to do. Actually, several more steps to do. Right now, this is meant to be the first sort of stroke of the pencil. And we can see at Illustrator, just a solid color. Rarely are things just a complete exact color green. So I'm going to add a few effects to sort of give texture to this. And I'm going to start by going to Effects. I'm going to go to Distort. I'm going to go to Glass. And it's going to sort of make the edges not so perfectly perfect, because things in real life rarely are. So I'll set it something like this, very imperfect. And again, now it still doesn't look like colored pencil. That's okay. It's actually going to take more steps. All right, so I'll go to Effects. I'm going to add a Gaussian blur because that's just too rough. I over roughed it, and I think that tool's always going to do that. So I have to come back and use something like Gaussian blur, which is going to blur things together a little bit. See, just like that. And many times colored pencil is done on some sort of paper, and that comes through. So I'm going to go a little texturize here, and just add a little bit of this sort of paper-ish quality to it. Just turn that down a little bit, though. We'll go with that. So that's my first base of color just for the one fill. And I think we're getting close, but there's still too much gap in here. There's not enough as if like I stroked over itself or things like that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this fill. Just by hitting the fill down here, we can see it duplicates it because a lot of these settings are semi-random. It sort of fills in between various areas just like that. And the next thing I'm going to do is to really get this to be green. I'm going to duplicate the fill one more time. And I actually am going to delete all of these effects for the bottom one. I just want a solid green fill. And I purposely sort of I could have started with this, but I wanted to show you the strokes more cleanly, so I put it in last. And because I've sort of have this bottom green fill, though, I do need to come back and change the blending mode of both these upper ones to multiply. So the white parts that we see on screen right now will become a shade of green instead. So I'm also going to go to this one, opacity, and go to multiply. And we can see there, once I do that, I start to get colored variation happening on the screen that looks like strokes of different pressures you've gone over at different times in sort of a almost random technique. And the other thing you can do to change the colors is change the opacity of these things as you sort of go across as well. Oops, it's not going to work because I had nothing selected. Got to select it and change the opacity. There we go. Just soften these tones down as you need to. Oops, I didn't mean to do that one. I meant to do this one. There we go. Essentially changing how hard your stroke might be by changing their opacity. So I'll say something like that is looking good, a nice streaky feel to it. Gives it a lot of texture. It looks a lot more like a hand technique than what you get in Illustrator, but there's still a few more things we can do. I think that's the base technique, is to add a couple strokes and add these things on top of it. Scribble technique a couple times, get you there, but there's still more things we can experiment just to do this or do that and play with it further. So I'm gonna do a couple things here. I'm going to take this one, and sometimes you lighten up your hand as you get to the edge of colored pencil, and so it lightens near the end. So I'm going to have to do something a bit, might seem out of the way at first, to get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset all of this back to a standard fill, and I'm going to change my color to black. I know, just bear with me, because of course once I turn this all to normal and get all the opacity of this fill up, it's going to just be a black square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Effects, and I'm going to go to Stylize, and I'm going to go to Inner Glow, and I'm going to set this to white, which it's already set at for me, and I'm going to change these things to the numbers you see, because I guess I've already done it, so I don't have to redo it. We see I got this white edge around a black square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the opacity blending mode of this black fill. I'm going to change it to screen. What screen basically does is it removes black and keeps white. And so by doing that, I've managed to make it look like this whole thing sort of fades out along the edge. It's like it might happen by hand. Now there's an issue because Scribble always pulls things across the real edge of the drawing, so I sort of need to fake that as well. I'm going to do that by setting my stroke to white. I got to give it some thickness, more than that, maybe 2 is even fine. And I think what I really want to do is I want to set the stroke alignment to outside, which is that button right here. Basically, I just added a white bar. It's blending into the white paper behind to cover up all the scribble that appeared outside. And there we go. There's my first texture that I've created. And I want to show you a couple tweaks to this on the blue one. So I'm going to come here, like always. I'll just drag and drop this into here, my graphic style. And then I can select this guy, set him. Right now it's identical, and I will set I'll go to Appearances, and I'll set all the colors. Not the black. The black can stay the same. Actually, I'm just going to delete the black layer because I want to do something different on this one. So I'll just delete that black layer right like that, and I'll come through and change all my greens to blues. Although you can see you don't have to have it all set the same color, and you can blend colors just by having multiple colors. In fact, what I'm going to do on this one is I'm just going to get rid of this bottom solid fill, as a matter of fact, because we see I've got the blue strokes with this isn't white here. When I've done this is using Scribble, so that it literally is transparent, and so we see right through those strokes to the object below it here. So just by getting rid of that bottom layer is a great way to blend between colors for this technique. And the last thing I'm going to do, instead of having a white stroke, in this case I'm actually going to set it to a blue, And I'll actually just maybe darken the blue a little bit, something like that. And just to be like, okay, well maybe you take your colored pencil and first outline it, the edge with your colored pencil, and then you color it on the inside. That would be what this blue one would be like. The green one's more like you sort of fade to the edge. You can really treat the edge any way you want to. The key again to this technique is using scribble, a couple other things for texture, and you use it twice to get a much more random effect to it. The rest of it is just sort of options as you go. So I hope you liked this video. If you have other techniques you want me to do or other ways of that colored pencil may look, let me know and I'll see what I can do and post the results. Have fun drawing. Thanks. Bye.